When we first started, we couldn't afford anything. I'm talking about oh my goodness, couldn't afford it. We had 6 team members we hired. 3 of them was from the community. Another 3 was from a different community. Now we have 40 plus team members on payroll. 40 plus from 2018 to 2024. We have 40 plus team members on payroll. Not only do we have 40 plus team members on payroll, but we host a variety of events that we do for the community. So here it is. We're a positive impact in the local economy of Otagoville because everybody stores. We just got a new store, a new convenience store. It may not be big for, a person in Atlanta or New York, but we got traffic coming through the area. They want to go see where the water plant is located. They want to stop and have a tour. So when they have a tour, they need to go get food. They need to go get different things. And we are driving the economy through this one location. We didn't have access to a good restaurant before. We had to go 25 minutes to go to a restaurant. A restaurant come to town because we can help sustain that restaurant because we got different colleagues coming in. We got different suppliers. We got vendors coming in from Mexico, Switzerland, China, Germany. We got people coming in from Canada, coming to Otagoville, Alabama, home of 800 people.
You're listening to the Black to Business Podcast, an educational podcast providing Black entrepreneurs with the tools and resources to start and grow their businesses. We chat with vetted Black entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and business owners as they provide tips and resources to help take your business to the next level. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall. Hello, and welcome back to the Black to Business Podcast. I'm your host, Monique T. Marshall, and today I am excited for this conversation because we are diving into such an inspiring story that proves that greatness can rise from even the smallest beginnings. And as a small towner myself, I absolutely love connecting with small town heroes who are making big waves. So have you ever felt like your dreams are just too big for your current circumstances? Or maybe you have faced doubt when you're trying to break into an industry that really seems out of reach. If you have, today we got you because we are joined by the incredible Marquis Forge, the founder and CEO of MRaine Industries. And he's here to share how he's transformed a small town dream into a thriving water brand. 1186 Real Artesian Water, and he is making a splash in the industry. So growing up in Otagoville, Alabama, a town with less than 800 people, talk about small, Marquis always had the ambition to revitalize his community and uplift those around him. So in this episode, he'll talk about his journey from the automotive world to entrepreneurship, and he's going to talk about some of the challenges he's faced and the innovative strategies that really helped him build his brand from the ground up. And we're also going to talk about how small businesses can leverage their unique qualities to compete with the big players, the significance of community impact, and how Marquis's work is sparking a spirit of entrepreneurship in underserved communities. And he's got some invaluable insights that can empower anyone looking to carve their own path, no matter the industry. So before we dive in, actually, I want to give you a quick heads up that my microphone was mistakenly set low during this recording. So you'll have to turn your volume up on this one because on my end, things are pretty low. Sorry. Now, with that being said, let's get into this. Marquis, welcome to the Black to Business Podcast. A treat to have you on the show. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, the honor is all mine, Miss Monique. Thank you for the opportunity to showcase what we do. We appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And I must say, I was excited when I saw this come up because it was a story that I love to tell about small town heroes and how you are making success like big waves. So as a small towner myself, I'm excited to talk about going from a small town to an industry giant and really diving into what you are doing, which is building a water brand from the ground up. So before we do that, let's talk about your story, just a little bit about your journey. How did you get here and what is it that you do?
So the story is very convoluted. It's very interesting because this is God led. This is not really
Mhm.
my story.
Mhm.
Um, I'm just a I'm just a soldier, a steward in this
Mhm.
journey. I'm from Alabama, of course. I've been in Alabama my whole life. I'm from a small town down central Alabama, called Toggleville, Alabama, and it's always been my passion to go back home
Mhm.
and help revitalize this small town, predominantly African American, less than 800 people that I came
Mhm.
from, and I always wanted to go back and give back to this town, and God made a way for that to happen in 2015. And in 2016, we started MRaine Industries, which is have now become the catalyst and the economical, source of this small town. And so it's really a story to be told, to take a natural resource of a company, of an area, of a community that we have known all our life and grew up on, and share it with the world.
Yeah, that's so amazing and so inspiring. And 800 people, that is very small. And
Very small, very small. Yes,
I thought Osula was small. That is very small.
yes.
And doing big things. And I love the fact that you mentioned like going back and wanting to do something for your community. And Marquise, I want to also talk a little bit more about your journey in. So you transitioned from the automotive industry into entrepreneurship. So really, what inspired you to go from there to here?
So a lot of it, uh, to be honest with you, I went to the University of Alabama back in the '90s,
Mm-hmm.
and I went played football, had an academic scholarship, and the academic part worked out, but the athletic part didn't go on to
Mm-hmm.
no NFL to play football, things like that. And I always had the desire to make sure that I go back home. Got into the automotive industry. I was in Tuscaloosa. University of Alabama is in Tuscaloosa, so
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes come to Tuscaloosa, come to the area. And I get involved with some of the tier one, tier two suppliers, and took off in the engineering, took off in the automotive world. Did that in 1997. Been in the automotive world ever since, and still is. And built my resources, built my network, built the capital up from the automotive industry. And I always, like I said, I always wanted to go back and I learned from the automotive industry. Automotive industry is very rigorous, very tough. And so I believe that if anybody make it in the automotive industry, you can make it anywhere for entrepreneur. So been an entrepreneur all my life and just was waiting for the right time for God to give me that opportunity to say, hey,
Mm-hmm.
here's an opportunity to go back home and share with your fellow man, share with your community, share with your family, and water come on the scene. Now, I'm not a water person. I don't know anything about water. Didn't know anything about water at the time. But what I did have was I had manufacturing under my belt. I had engineering under my belt. I had automotive under my belt. And I took that knowledge and transferred completely over to the water bottling industry or the beverage industry and just cross converted, and voila, you got a water bottling company, MRaine Industries, the proud producers of 1186 real artesian water.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so this is good. And so when you were starting this, because it's like this is an industry many people don't go into, especially us. I want to talk about some of those challenges that you faced when you were starting in Marine Industries. What were those, and how did you kind of like get through that?
All the challenges, everything that we
Mm-hmm.
faced was difficult. Even
Mm-hmm.
even walking out, crossing the streets was difficult. The biggest difficulty for us was finding funds, finding money, finding resources. And you said a mouthful. We don't get the opportunity to go into an area or industry like this. This is a very difficult industry to go into. Beverage industry is very difficult, especially bottled water because the margins are so small. You can imagine if you go in the grocery store or the convenience store, you buy a case of water. Let's say you buy a case of water for $10. That $10 has been turned over 4 or 5 times. So really, the manufacturer is only making $2 or $1.50 off that case of water.
Mm-hmm.
So the margins are very, very small. And the the previous big players in the game that's already doing water, they push you out. So it make entry very, very difficult. So when someone of our, someone of our ethnicity or race come up to the table and say, "Hey, I want to do bottled water,"
Mm-hmm.
you already given a card that said you cannot play in this game. You cannot play. So don't even think about opening up the door. Don't even think about knocking. You cannot come in. So yes, we got turned down by 18 banks. We got turned down by, I don't know, I stopped counting, 20, 30 investors that said that we would not be able to compete. We would not be able to even think about competing. And we just kept going. We raised money of our own. We got the founding partners. We raised our own money. We started doing our own manufacturing, start clearing off land. We started doing our own general contractor work because no one would give us anything. They wouldn't even give us an opportunity to even sit down and talk about the business plan. We talked to so many people about the business plan, and we would have to call them back, and they'll be like, "Oh, we threw that in the trash. It won't work." So you're talking about difficulties. The only thing easy we found to do was find a meal at a restaurant. That was the only thing easy to do. Every time we went out and talked to a bank, we would stop to eat a meal, and that was the only easy thing that we could do. Other than talking to someone about finances or talking to someone, just the finances was impossible.
So Marquis, hearing this story, like for you, hearing this story, why keep going? It sounds so hard. Like, why keep going? And I want to know what that pivotal moment when you're getting all these no's, all of these challenges was for you that motivated you that said, in spite of, I'm still going to keep going.
So that's a great question. Great question. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times business owners, especially entrepreneurs, I do believe that when you go out and start a business, if it's under your own power, under your own tutelage, when people tell you no 4 or 5 times, you're going to say, okay, that didn't work out. Go start doing something else. This is not my first rodeo for entrepreneurship. I have done a lot of things from a business standpoint. I currently still own my own engineering representation company where we represent automotive companies. And so this was not my idea. So let me repeat this. As an entrepreneur, you got two roads you can travel. You can travel a road where you create an idea of your own, say, okay, I want to go and I want to build shoes, or I want to make shoes, or I want to build furniture. And this is something that you want to do. Or you got a second road that you can take that God tell you to do. He direct you to do this. And so God directed us to start this water bottling company. And it wasn't my idea to stop or start. I was following direction. I'm a firm believer that obedience is better than sacrifice. So I am following the direct orders of what God gave us. And so it's not the point of the 18 no's or the 20, 30 people telling us no from an investor standpoint. God said, you just go and show up. I'll do the rest. So God was taking us through this protocol of being denied so that when he approved us, the humility would be there. So yes, 18 times being denied by the bank, and you go and say, oh, it's because we're African-American, we were black. No, it's not that. You're not ready yet. And when you become ready, he will activate you. He will open up the door for you. And so that's what keeps the energy going, because I lay down just fine at night, because the failure or success of this is not under my control. It's in his control. Now, if it was my plan, I would be worried about why these people keep turning me down. I would be worried about what I'm going to get the money from. I would be worried about things that I'm thinking from a carnal standpoint, from a man standpoint. But when God gives you something and you're thinking on a spiritual standpoint, he's just telling you, hey, my time is not your time, okay? And that's what I had to come to the realization to understand, that his time is not my time and my time is not his time.
That was a word. Mr. Forge, I also noticed that you are in the church, heavily involved in the church. So that was a word you just gave us.
Well, when we get through, we can pass a plate around there.
All right. I love it. Yes. Pass the plate. I love that. And I love that you said for you, you would have been up at night worried if it would have been your plan, but for you, it was God's plan. So in that, I think about, for somebody who's listening, for you, that's how you define your success, and both personally, professionally, and personally. Like, I want to speak to that a little bit more. And how did you get to that place where this is what success looks like for me?
So it take time
Mm-hmm.
to study to show thyself approval.
Mm-hmm.
That's a word in the Bible, 2 Timothy. It said, Paul said to show and study and show thyself approval. In order for you to get to that level of humility and trust and faith with God, faith without work is dead. You can have faith all you want. You can say, oh, I can believe God, I believe God's going to do it. I can believe God's going to do it. But if you don't put no work into it, faith without work is dead. So here it is. This is a combination of my belief, my relationship, just my ongoing relationship with God, and listening to the Holy Spirit. Hey, you said go left? I'm not questioning you. You said go left, I'm going left. You said stop, I stop. You said go, I go. You said go to the bank and ask for $2 million, I go ask for $2 million. Because I hear you talking to me. And I don't call that feeling in my stomach, that voice in my mind, I don't call it a it, I call it a him. It's my relationship that I have with God over the years of being a faithful steward of what he has given me. I don't live for the world. I don't have a IG account, not saying that, not Instagram, but I'm talking about instant gratification. I'm not looking for instant gratification.
Oh, that's good.
I'm not looking for that. I'm not looking to pop food in a microwave and hit 2 minutes and have a meal. It takes more than that to get a meal. And so that's what the world shows us. The world shows us on social media. The world shows us, hey, I'm driving a Ferrari, I'm driving a Lamborghini, I'm driving a G-Wagon, but I'm not showing you how I got that. I'm not showing you the nights of working 18 hours and working 20 hours and working 2 jobs, working 3 jobs and grinding. I'm not showing you any of that. I'm just showing you the end results and say, hey, don't you want to be like me? And that's the false documentation. That's the falsehood that the world shows us. No, it doesn't work like that. It takes years of cultivating. It takes years of clearing. It takes years of planning. It takes years of just waiting for God to give the increase while you done did all the work, you think.
That's so powerful. I love that. And, speaking, that's why I mentioned in the beginning also, I was so excited for this conversation because as someone who's from a small town, and you mentioned like 800 people, I want to know about, like, how do you feel like your upbringing, being from a small town, shaped your entrepreneurial mindset?
Well, it did it in 2 ways. Being from a small town, I think have some major advantage, but I would talk about 2 main advantages, I think. Okay. One of the advantages from being from a small town, everyone knows you. So in the point of everyone knows you, that means that you on a higher scale of you have to be successful. You just can't go do what you want to do because you got more people that you carry. That sounds crazy because you're in a small town. I'm finna give you something. You know, let's say a person in New York, let's say they're in Queens or Brooklyn. If you don't succeed, you can go hide in your apartment and be cool, and nobody don't even know, hey, what happened to her? You know, the girl, I don't even know her name. Where's she from? I don't know.
Right.
But being from a town of 800, no matter where I go, if I go to my sister's house, they're going to be the neighbors say, hey, what happened to the water company? I go by the store, they're going to say, hey, what happened to the water company? I go to the grocery store, they're going to say, hey, what's going on? I can't go anywhere that I can hide from somebody because everybody knows me. So that keep me living in a glass house, that keep my level of anticipation real high. So that keep me on my toes at all times because I have nowhere to hide. And so what that does for me, that keep me in the word of God, that keep me tied to it. Hey, it's certain things I can't do. You know, I can't go party with you because I live in a glass house because I'm from this small town. I can't go on the west side of town and do my dirt and come back to the east side of town and preach a message. Because in this small town, there ain't no east, west, south, or north side. It only got one side. And everybody knows everybody. That's one advantage that keep me on my toes. The second advantage is, guess what? The success that we bring to the town also elevate everybody else. Yeah. When you're successful in New York, you're just another millionaire. You're just another billionaire. 300 more billionaires in New York. So you becoming another billionaire, you just on a list. Me becoming a millionaire in a town with less than 800 people, it give everybody else hope and say, hey, he did it. We can do it too. Hey, don't do that. No, we ain't smoking no more on the corner. We ain't doing that because you know what? The water plant is here. We represent a water plant. So it puts everybody on high alert versus if you was in a big town, you just another big house with another big salary. So what? We got plenty of them here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. And when you're saying that, I'm like, oh, I never thought about it that way, but I definitely resonate with those same sentiments. It's like, you know, every time I go back home, people are like, they know more stuff, and it's not even on Facebook. It's just that
Exactly.
everybody knows.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I
Because
like that.
you in that small town is a catalyst. You are
Mm-hmm.
hope and inspiration that, hey, you can go and be anybody.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love that. And people who are listening are in spaces where possibly they're not in major cities. So it's like it's important for us to have these conversations with people like you who are really doing it and showing people, like you said, it's possible. So love that. And also, I want to talk more about like building this brand from the ground up. So, what were some of those we talk about the challenges that you faced. So, I want to talk about the steps that you actually took to get started. So, what were some of those initial steps that you took to really establish MRaine Industries as a brand?
So I think the most important step was to blot out. I said blot out that you're in a
Mm-hmm.
small town.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in my chair, in my office, I'm on top of the world. So it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter how many people in the town. My chair in my office carries the same weight, the same power as my chair being in New York.
Right.
So with that being said, some of the steps that we took to establish MRaine Industries as a brand was to make sure that we own everything. We
Mm-hmm.
wanted to make sure we own everything. When I say that, I mean we wanted to own the land, we wanted to own the well, we want to own the building, we want to own the equipment, we want to own the brand, we want to own everything that we didn't have anybody to report to but ourselves and the customer. So I think that's a real big thing in developing a
Yeah.
brand because once you start a brand off, everybody's willing to help because they don't know if you're going to succeed or not. But if you succeed, everybody want their cut. Everybody want, hey, you know, I help you now. I want half of the company. No, no, no. You didn't do half of the work. How can you tell me
Right.
different? How can you tell me different? How can you tell me different that I didn't do half of the work? It hadn't been for me, you wouldn't be where you are. So we took control of our own individual slots. We took control of our own individual innovations. We wanted to take control over as many parts of this machine as possible so that when it do build itself up to be that brand of success, we don't have anybody sticking their hand out. So that was very important for us.
Right.
You know, a lot of people, they go out and try to get into a business the cheapest way they can. They were like, hey, if I want to get into a water bottle business, anybody can get in the water bottle business. All you got to do is say, hey, I go out to a co-packer and say, hey, co-packer, I want you to put my label. Matter of fact, here's a sketch of what I want you to put on the bottle. I'd like for you to do this for me. And they'll say, okay, cool. No problem. We can do that. It's going to cost you $1 a bottle. You said, fine, $24. I bought a case of water for $24. I'm going to try to sell it for $30 so I can make $6 a case. Well, the water industry person going to say, that is not going to work. That's too high. But that's
Mm-hmm.
what they're going to try to do. You're going to try to sell it to, you know, I don't know, on premise account so you can get your money back, whatever it may be. But if you do be successful, they're going to come back to you and say, hey, hold up, you ordering too much. We're going to raise the price on you. You're going to like, hey, how you do that? You got no control of that. They can tell you, we're going to only give you 1,000 cases a month. You got no control of it. So they can limit on you what you can do. But if you own everything, as we built the brand, we put that first. We want to own everything. We don't want to rent anything. We don't want to lease anything. We don't want anyone to be a boss that we got to report to that can limit our growth.
Mm-hmm. That's so key. I love that. And also, so in this process, like how did you identify your target market and how did you create that product to meet that target market's need?
So in marine industry, we believe that if you provide a product that the world has not seen before, if you provide something that's unique that not that they haven't seen before, but you make it an elastic good, meaning that no matter what it costs, no matter what happened, people going to want it. So here it is. In order for us to identify our target market, we couldn't create no new water bottling people. What we wanted to do, we wanted to target customers that give them an opportunity. I'm going to use cars, for example, because I'm an automotive guy. You know, I'm just an automotive guy, so I use cars, for example. So here it is. You see people, you rarely do see people riding around in a Ferrari and Lamborghini. When you see someone riding around in a car like that, a Rolls Royce, you know that they are rich on a whole nother level. But if I wanted to go fast, I can't afford a Ferrari, but I go get a Corvette. Nothing wrong with a Corvette, but I can go buy a Corvette for less than $100,000. But the Corvette got the same speed as a Ferrari, maybe so, or whatever it may be. But I can only afford a Corvette. But what if I made a car in between Corvette and Ferrari that had the same quality as Ferrari, but it was very close in price to the Corvette? That's what we did with our brand. We wanted to give customers an opportunity to taste water on another level of quality that they couldn't afford in the past. And if you chose this type of water that was of the highest quality that you never tasted before because you wouldn't pay for it, you went in the store and you seen water on the shelf, 12 bottles for $12. You said, no, that's too much. I would never pay that much. You ain't never tasted it. You ain't never even experienced the quality of the water. So what our idea was to bring the highest level quality of water, ultra premium water at mainstream cost, giving customer an opportunity, not of high class, but middle class, lower class, all class, to be able to experience water on a whole nother level. That's how we target our market. And the way we did it was we went out and we invested in our community by giving away the water and let the community know that there is a difference in water. And once they agreed that there was a difference in water, our customers slowly but surely made the transition.
And how important, like in those beginning stages, especially, was, and even still now, that community relationship while you're building and continuing to scale?
Well, it was very important because when you're in a community, if you remember in the beginning of this conversation, I said revitalization. So in order for you to revitalize a community, you have to involve the community. You got to hire the community. You have to train the community. You have to get the community in on your plan. They have to buy in on what you are doing. And they have to sign off that, hey, this is part of my plan as well. This is feeding my family. This is feeding my school. This is promoting my school. So all of a sudden they have a buy-in on it too. And that's why I say the revitalization process, it takes a long period of time because you got to get other people to buy in on your promotion. You got to get other people to buy in on your plan and not just sell them a piece of cake. Say, you see how sweet it is? Right. Eat this cake. Oh, that's sweet. What's gonna make them come back tomorrow and buy another piece of cake? They didn't help bake it. They didn't help put the icing on it. They don't know what goes in it. All they know is, in order for me to get another piece of that good cake, I got to go buy another piece. That's it. That's the only transaction they have. So our goal is to integrate the community, integrate the organization, integrate the chamber, integrate the retailers, integrate the distributor in the process. Have community events. For the last 5 years, we've been having a fall festival where we invite the community out during the fall, during the last week of October, to bring their children out and come out and be with us in free food festivals for all the children, the whole community. You know, we're talking about 800 plus people in the community, but why do we have 2,500 people to show up?
And so one of the things, in just speaking to like giving and growing in all of this, like how do you maintain that quality control while you're managing the growth and the scaling?
You know, again, I'm from the automotive industry. You know, in the automotive industry, we can't build anything that can't save people's lives. We got to help transport you and we got to keep you safe while we're doing that. So I bring that rigorous quality aspect from the automotive industry to the bottling world. You know, nothing goes out. You know, we ingrain it in all our team members. Nothing goes out unless it's perfect. If the label is on a little cricket, don't send it. Redo it.
Right.
We started off, we had an incident way back 2018 when we first started shipping water, and we didn't have that much water to ship, but the machine put some labels on that wasn't aligned properly, and it was 38,000 bottles of water.
Mm.
We took all the labels off by hand and relabel them by hand.
Wow.
They was like, "Can we just drink the water?" I was like, "No, we're gonna put new labels back on the bottle." They were like, "This don't make no sense."
Right.
This don't make no sense. I said, I understand, but I said, this is the highest level of quality that we want to express to our customers, that we put our heart and souls into bottling this water. And one of our quality associates said, not only do we put our heart and soul, but we put our fingertips on pulling these labels out too.
That is hilarious. I love that though.
Yeah. So you can't just let anything go out. And then, we also offer the highest level of protection to our customer too. Like some water bottling company, no name, a lot of people said water bottling companies don't have strict restrictions, requirements, quality requirements. We chose in our facility to have some of the highest level of quality inspection and quality requirements. We do everything. We take our water through a carbon filter, through a UV light, through a 5 micron screen, and also we ozone the water. Ozone is a disinfectant gas that we infuse with the water to keep any type of bacteria, E. coli, anything growing in the water for 2 years. Nothing. So we don't have to do that though. But we do it because we are small. We are a small player in the game. We don't have millions of dollars for a quality spill. And so we have to go the extra mile in everything that we do. Everything. I mean, everything. Our floors, our facility has been rated like a hospital. We are totally clean. We get a health department check. Every quarter it stays at 100, just like a restaurant. We never got less than 100. And so we go a level above, not because someone told us to, it's because we demand it of ourselves.
Yes. And speaking of like being a small player, but navigating such a competitive industry, I want to talk about some of those challenges that small business owners might be thinking, or misconceptions rather. So, what are some of the common misconceptions that entrepreneurs have about competing with larger brands? So, you went for it. So, what would you say?
I'm gonna be honest with you. The misconception is, you can't compete with them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't try to compete with them. I'm not competing with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
My competitor is myself. So I'm competing with MRaine Industries, competing with MRaine Industries. So we compete on a daily basis to get better every day, no matter how good we think we are. So when people say, hey, they come to us and say, hey, we never name drop. We're never going to be in a position of name dropping, saying 1186, our water brand 1186 is better than ABC brand. We're not going to do that because that's an opinion of ours. So the biggest thing that we can do is concentrate on yourself and don't worry about what those larger brands are doing because you don't know how they got there. You don't know how they got there. If the story tell it correctly, I will say this name. Coca-Cola sold only 25 bottles the first year it went into business.
Wow.
25 bottles of Coke. I don't know how much smaller you can get. But what I'm saying is, if you're thinking about competing with the larger brands or larger water brands or the larger T-shirt company or the larger sneaker company or the larger digital company or the larger marketing company, the larger PR company, you're going to find yourself turning wheels from a position of weakness because you can't compete. The only thing that you can do is put God first and let him navigate the bridge.
And also, like you said, like it's I love that you said you can compete. And I want to talk about, because we've covered so much in this conversation thus far about just some of the ways that you are doing things differently. And it also makes me think about just that uniqueness that you all have about you. So I want to talk about how others can start to leverage that unique factor and stand out in their industry. Like, what would you say are some of those ways that they can do so?
So in order to leverage and make it unique, qualities to stand out in the industry that you're in, I would most definitely concentrate on why are you doing this? Why? What reason, whatever business you're in, what reason are you doing this? We all can work corporate America, but individuals think entrepreneurship, I'm my own boss. When you work for corporate America, you work 8 hours. When you're your own boss, you work 16 to 18 hours. Mm-hmm. A lot of individuals don't understand that. But here it is. In order to leverage their unique quality, small businesses run the world. Not Fortune 500 companies. There are small businesses that runs the world. Yes. In every small town, there is no Walmart, there is no Publix, there is no Costco, there is no ShopRite. There's a small mom and pop shop that is churning out products every day to this community. I tell a lot of different entrepreneurs that I talk to that you want to leverage your business, find an opportunity that New York don't have in this small town of making this small town into a community, into a city. You can't go to New York and make New York a bigger city. New York will make you a smaller person. But if I'm in Otagoville can't make me smaller. I can only help Otagoville become bigger. So that's my leverage right there. Go find my small town that I come from and help them raise the bar on being a larger city, a larger community, and help them grow. And in the process of helping them grow, I have leveraged what I want to bring to the town.
And then as you're growing, so how do you manage some of those operational challenges as your business continues to scale?
That's a great question. In the entrepreneurship role, you got to have a team. You got to have some partners, and you got to have some great partners. Not only just team members, but you got to have some great partners. And in the process of having them great partners, somebody got to be a visionary and be 5 years ahead of the scale. Like right now, I'm living in 2029, 2030. Mm-hmm. Because I got to stay ahead of what's going to happen. A lot of people say, it may happen. I don't operate like that. I know it's going to happen because it's God plan, and it's my job to stay ahead of the plan, because when it happened, I don't need for someone to call and say, hey, I need a truckload of water. And I said, well, I don't have it. Mm-hmm. So my goal, is to stay ahead and to be ahead of the curve so that, we can operate in a level of that suspense.
And so what advice would you give to those who are facing some challenges as they are growing?
My first thing to all my, I do a lot of different advice, a lot of entrepreneurs. The first thing I ask them, do you got a business plan? Mm-hmm. That's the first thing I ask people. And they would, I'm going to be honest with this, is sad, but 98% of them say, oh, you don't need a business plan. No, I don't have a business plan. It's just T-shirts. I said, well, okay. You ever went for a job interview without a resume? You just went in and say, hey, I'm an engineer, I'm good, and where are your credentials? Oh, you don't need to know about that. I'm just telling you I'm an engineer. How many times do you think you don't get hired? Right. Okay, how many times you start a business and don't have a business plan? How successful you think that business is going to be? You don't have no inclination on how good you was last year because you didn't write nothing down and make no goals on where you are. How can I check my goals from last year? What are my strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats? Where is my SWOT analysis? Where am I strong? Where am I weak? Where is the opportunity? Who is my threat? Just very common advice right there that a lot of entrepreneurs I meet, they don't have any of that. They just, hey, I'm going to make it. I got my food truck and I'm going to sell as much food as I can. Okay. Oh, okay. What did you do last year? I don't know. Paid the bills. That's all they can tell you. And so having that core material, and then also, how good is your credit? Credit is very important. It's going to come to a point you can't use your own money anymore. You're going to run out of money. So you got to be credit worthy. So in order to face these significant challenge along the journey, you got to have that business plan. You got to have that map. You got to have that GPS. You got to be able to look toward the future. You got to have credit worthiness. And you got to be willing to put in all that time. And do it without ever making a profit. People tell you all the time, you hear the myth, a business should succeed in 3 to 5 years. You should see a business succeed in 3 to 5 years. That's not true. That's not true. That's a myth. We've been doing the water company since 2015. 2015, God called me to Otagoville, called me back home, and we started the water company. 2016, we officially started the water company. Here it is. Third quarter, going into the last third quarter of 2024. I haven't made a profit. No one gave me a distribution, gave me a payment saying, hey, here's $100,000. Here's $200,000. Here's $1 million. You a millionaire. Here's $1 million I'm going to give you this year. I haven't seen that yet. But what I have seen this company grow into a giant. And I have been on the sideline and watch it grow into a giant that one day it's going to be an empire. But entrepreneurs are so focused on making a profit that they lose out on the business that is growing. You ever seen a farmer go out, plant seed, come back the next day and look for a crop to pick? That's how most entrepreneurs are. Most entrepreneurs I meet, hey, I just planted some corn yesterday and I'm going back to the field today to harvest it. And they go out there and they say, hey, it must didn't work, and they leave. They leave. They say that fails. And guess what? Someone like me with patience and understanding and know that God is the one that gives the increase. I'm going to go to that field that they planted corn, and I'm going to sit out there a couple months, maybe a couple years, and wait for that corn to come up. And I'm going to reap the harvest of all that work they did because they couldn't wait. And they didn't have a business plan. They didn't have no credit. They didn't understand how it worked. And then I'm going to pick their harvest.
That's powerful. Yeah, I love that. And I love the fact that, just teaching people the journey and the importance of patience in this process. And I think that's always something that we can continue to talk about because it doesn't happen for overnight, and it does take time. Anything that's worth it is going to take time with a proper foundation. And so I also want to talk about, we kind of touched on this in the beginning as well, the community impact and economic growth. So for a lot of business owners, they might be in smaller areas or they might be in bigger areas where they're trying to give back to a community or their community. In what ways can businesses contribute to that community revitalization like you've done?
Hire from the community, hire employees, team members from the community, train the community. A lot of times you go into communities and you have team members that never worked in a factory before, never worked in an office before. You get them to buy in on your process. And then also you contribute to the community by joining the local organizations, joining the chamber, going to different events, going to ribbon cutting events, going to social events. Let them know that, hey, I'm in the community. I'm here for you. Your son, your daughter, your sister, your brother, your father, your mother, they work at our facility and we are putting food on your table. And you become the face of the community. You interact. You go to the football games. You go to the basketball game, the baseball games. And then on top of all that, you donate. Set up a scholarship. If it's nothing but $500 to give to the graduating senior that's going to school just to help them out with buying a book, $500 or $1,000, whatever it may be, to let them know that, hey, I'm a part of this community. I want to see you succeed. That's how you revitalize. You start a 501c3 and say, hey, we want to help revitalize the park. The park has not been refurbished in 30 years. The swing set is got signs on them that do not use. Let's go over there and do that. Let's go over there and repair it. A gift from MRaine industry, a gift from the small business that's in this community. You know how far that'll go? You know how long that'll go? You know what they'll do to the community? I'm going to tell you what it does to my community.
Yeah.
You go park in front of my facility at night and see what'll happen. Go park at the gate. We got a gate at our facility. Go park at the gate. Just park there and just get out the car and take pictures. And I guarantee you within 15 minutes, the sheriff will pull up and say, hey, what are you doing here? Do you plan on doing anything? I'm going to tell you why. Because the next door neighbor going to call the police on you. You know why they're going to call the police? Because they said, my mama worked there. That's my plant. You better not go over there and touch that. You better not be seen over there unless Mr. Forge is there, unless Mr. Brickhouse is there, unless Mr. Bailey's is there, unless the gate is open. You ain't got no reason to be in over there, period. Because we bought in. That's how revitalization look in the community.
They are behind you 100%. And I love one of the things that you mentioned is that my mom works there, and the jobs that you are creating for your community, and just talking more about what that has looked like, especially as you've continued to grow. Maybe some of the things that you were able to do the early days up until now, but providing and giving back to that local community.
So when we first started, we couldn't afford
Mm-hmm.
anything. I'm talking about we was, oh my goodness. Couldn't afford it. We had 16 members we hired. 3 of them was from the community. Another 3 was from a different community. Now we have 40 plus team members on payroll.
Mm-hmm.
40 plus. From 2018 to 2024, we have 40 plus team members on payroll. Not only do we have 40 plus team members on payroll, but we host a variety of events that we do for the community. So here it is. We're a positive impact in the local economy of Otagoville because everybody stores. We just got a new store, a new convenience store. It may not be big for, a person in Atlanta or New York, but we got traffic coming through the area. They want to go see where the water plant is located. They want to stop and have a tour. So when they have a tour, they need to go get food. They need to go get different things. And we are driving the economy through this one location. Everybody at our facility want to eat lunch, want to eat lunch. And so here it is, a restaurant. We didn't have access to a good restaurant before. We had to go 25 minutes to go to a restaurant. A restaurant come to town because we can help sustain that restaurant because we got different colleagues coming in. We got different suppliers. We got vendors coming in from Mexico, Switzerland, China, Germany. We got people coming in from Canada, coming to Otagoville, Alabama, home of 800 people.
Big deal stuff. I love that. And I want to talk about, even because some people, I love how one of the things you said earlier is that you don't, when you go to work or when you've created your business, you didn't just think like small, you thought big. And I'm a giant already. So I want to talk about how for some people they might be thinking, oh, this is in a small town, or this is small, this is not big enough, people are not going to pay attention. What that plays in your community and how that gives people hope and growth in these underserved communities. So what do you think that you can say to business owners on the role that they play in fostering hope and growth in their communities?
The role that you play is that, okay, our facility now is 66,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
We have a platform that's 66,000 square feet. We started off at 22,000 square feet, which was the largest building in the town when we started. Mm-hmm. And then we tripled in size 9 months ago. And the community is saying, Marquis Forge is the son of a broom maker. My mother made brooms for a living. Mm. My mother made no more than $135 a week when she retired in 2004. Mm. She raised 7 children from a broom factory. She worked 40 plus years. And they said, if he can go from a broom factory son that was making $135 a week to owning a multi-million-dollar giant water bottling company, we can do it too. And you see in our community now, you see different people that want to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
They're starting rental companies. They're starting different food trucks. They're starting a car wash. They're starting a boutique. They're starting a restaurant. You didn't see that influx before. Mm-hmm. You didn't see it. It was like, we got to get into this business. General contractor, a construction worker. You didn't see this before. And so it gives everybody hope that it's not where you come from, but where you're going. Mm-hmm. Where you going? Where are you going? just because I come from a town of 800 don't mean that I'm going to stay in the town of 800 and that's going to be all my capacity. I can go anywhere. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, I done been a lot of places where the town is much, much bigger than 800. Mm-hmm. And I'm able to walk in that arena as well. I'm able to walk in the 800 town arena. I'm able to walk in the 8 million city arena. That gives my people, my community, my state hope.
Powerful. And Marquis, I want to talk about some of the programs that you've been able to implement or maybe support locally, whether it be youth and entrepreneurship, because I know you also mentioned earlier, like you speak to a lot of entrepreneurs as well.
So here it is. I'm in this county. I'm in this town. I'm in one of the smaller towns in the county where we have 800, citizens. But our impact from this small town has elevated so high. So, for instance, our water has become the official state water of Alabama.
What?
It's listen to me now. Our water has, in April of 2019, 1186 real artesian water was the governor of Alabama signed a resolution stating that 1186 real artesian water is the official state water of Alabama. And so here it is. Those programs and those initiatives that we have implemented for the youth is, hey, come along with us. We go to the Senate. We go to the House of Representatives and deliver water. Come to the floor where they make laws, they implement laws, they discuss laws. So we have youth to come along with us. We also support our Lions Club, where we give away scholarships every year to help support students, seniors going to college. Not only those type of programs, but we also have summer programs where we have college students that need summer jobs from the community that comes back and summer work with us so that they can have internships, so they can have work, so they can make money, so they can help support their education. So they don't have to go off and work at a low-paying job. We bring them in as a regular team member and give them all the work that they want. They want to work 12 hours, they can work 12 hours so they can make the income so that they can go back to school and don't have to go back on no income, no money, because the community that we're from, that we have a lot of low income families. So here it is. Imagine you come and you making $1,000, $2,000, $1,500 a week, and you can do that for the next 12 weeks and take it back to school with you. Mm-hmm. Those are the type of programs that we implement. And not only that, the CEO, yours truly, has been elected or has been chosen as the vice chairman of economical and workforce development for the whole county because of how fast we are growing a particular company in Otagoville of 800 people.
Wow. Congratulations. This is got me riled up and inspired. I love this.
Thank you.
Big deal. Yeah. And for you, we've discussed a lot of your journey, but I'm sure like you're just so proud of yourself, but how does it feel for you to be here?
Well, honestly, it's not the point I'm proud of myself. It's just the point that when someone tells you can't do it or you're not going to make it, it's not a dare. It's not, I'm going to show you better. Following God's instructions is the most important thing to me. Just the obedience of what he told me to do, sometime in life you say, I wish I had did this earlier, but I made a lot of mistakes in life. I went down a lot of wrong roads in life. It wasn't detrimental to me, but it comes a time in your life, you're like, okay, what I need to do. And you hear that voice, you hear that inner spirit say, hey, you hear that Holy Spirit say, hey, let's just stop for a moment. Let me show you something. Mm-hmm. And it's not a point of being proud. It's just like, I want to be a good steward of what God has given me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to meet him one day. And when I meet him, I just want him to say, job well done, thou good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few. Now I'm going to make you a master over many. That's all I'm asking for. Because this stuff, 1186 was here before I got here. It wasn't called 1186. It was just really, really good water, artesian water. God gave me an opportunity to name something that been here hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of years. He gave me the opportunity to name it, my group and I to name it 1186. Now that water 1186 going to be here long after we dead and gone. Now that's what I hang my hat on.
And I did not ask you what inspired the name.
Again, it's not mine. I can't name. I'm finna tell you, I can't name anything that's not mine. So what happened was, the short version of the story is, when we was going through the naming, the branding, we found out the water was really, really good. It was better than what we had thought it was going to be. And we called it Liquid Gold for a long time, for several months. And our marketing manager, Guru, said, you can't call it Liquid Gold. And she's from Connecticut. And at the time, she wasn't, like Northerners, I'm not saying Northern, but a lot of people would, you talk about God, in the South, everybody talk about God. God is everything. So anyway, I said, hey, I don't know what to name it because God hasn't told me yet. And she said, tonight, can you ask him? She was being funny. Everybody on the call laugh. I said, yeah, I will ask him. I will ask him tonight. And so I kid you not. I was studying that night. And after I got through studying the Bible, I asked God, I said, God, what do we name this water? And I kid you not. I got chills coming on me now. I kid you not. He answered me. He said, how do you study the Bible? And God works different. You ask for furniture, God don't give you furniture. He give you a tree to go cut down for you to make a piece of furniture. He give you the resource, but you got to put in the work. So he said, how do you study the Bible? And I had got some instructions on how it had to be on the bottle, the word, and whole 9 yards. And I knew that how do you study the Bible could not be the answer. But I studied the Bible 3 chapters at a time, and I knew that couldn't be the answer either. And the next thing you know, I'm on a app asking the app how many chapters in the Bible. And the app came back and said 1,186. And I look at numbers different, like 1186. And so I said, hey, that sounds pretty good. Give me a cold bottle of 1186, real artesian water. Give me a cold bottle of 1186. So it works. I get on the call the next night. I say, hey, guys, God answered me last night, 1186. And the marketing guru, her name's Chrissy. She said, hey, that's pretty good. Where you get that from? I said, I just told you. God gave it to me last night. She said, no, for real. Where do you get it from? And I said, I'm telling you. And I told her the story just like I just told you. And she said, you came with 1186 out of that? I said, yep. And we used it. And my partner, Kelvin Brickhouse, he said, is it 1186 or 1186? I said 1186. He said, that's not, it can be said so many different ways. So he came up with the idea of spelling out 11 and leaving the 86 in numerical values. And 1186 was born.
Wow. That is a power. I love that story. Yeah, I was like, I was curious about the name too.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing that. And
just a 10-second side note. There's not 1,186 chapters in the Bible. There's really 1,189. But Chrissy was so focused on 1186 because she said a 9 was a downer and it sounded like we was already country enough. So she wanted to keep the 6 as an upper. And she said, go back to God and ask him, can we keep the 6 since you're in this God? And I said, I will. And he didn't answer me. So I said, this gotta be the way. And 6 in the Bible represent man, 9 in the Bible represent gifts from the Holy Spirit. So what better gift to give man than 1186?
That is powerful. That is beautiful. Chrissy is a trip. And then that is so funny about the 9. I love that. And thank you so much for sharing that part of your journey. It's so funny because I was recently on a podcast, and I'm so glad that we get to have these types of conversation on the Black to Business podcast. One of the things they said is like, oh, you can't mention God on the podcast, or just like going through. So glad we have this freedom.
Yes. Hey, if we can't mention God on the podcast, you can delete this podcast for me.
Right. Delete it for me too.
Delete this for me because listen, hey, I'm careful to give him all the honor, the glory, and the praise, because if it weren't for him, I wouldn't even be here. Matter of fact, I tell my wife and I tell my family, I said, if this a dream, if God got me dreaming, you better not wake me up. Leave me sleep. Let me be.
We're glad you are awake.
Yes.
So I am loving this. And also, yeah, this has been so great. I want to talk about, lastly, some of the resources or tools that you recommend for those who are just starting to build their own brands, and maybe some of those things that helped you.
Well, most importantly, I think that again, most importantly, in building or anything for aspiring entrepreneurs to first put a lot of God in it first, and find out exactly what you want to do and what He wants you to do. And so the tools that you really need to hone in on a business plan, like I said before, but also something else that I probably didn't mention earlier is that you got to make sure that your vocabulary and that your dialogue matches what you're doing. And I'm gonna break this down just for a little bit, and I'm not
Okay.
gonna go deep into it, but you can't come to a bank and ask them for a loan with a sentence, hey, what's up, yo, man, this and that and the third. That doesn't work. You need to understand the professionalism of what you're doing, and this is not streets, this is not country. I can't ride up to the bank on a tractor and overalls with no shoes on and go in there and say, hey, here's my business plan on a napkin and with a straw in my mouth. It doesn't work. Understand the correct tools for the correct presentation. Always dress to impress, always have a great first impression, always be on time. And if you're not on time, don't go. Just say, hey, because if you're late, you're wasting their time. You're showing yourself a bad impression. One of the biggest things that when we was doing the loans and everything, and when we got approved, one of the things that the bank, they really told me, they was like, it was so important to us how fast you got the material back to us. That's not a tool, but you must understand that when someone give you an opportunity, you must act upon it immediately. Not, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. No procrastination on that. You need to put your best foot forward when doing this. And so you need to react immediately. I don't care if it's in the middle of the night. The best tool I had other than God is I would be sending emails at 2:30, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, working. And I wanted them to see that I was working in the middle of the night. I'm not going to sleep until I get this done.
Yeah, that reminds me of something I recently heard. I went to a conference and they said money like speed. And I say it's true. And I want to talk about, did you have any mentors in your journey or maybe some advice that you got that really helped you while you were starting your business?
Of course, you got to have, I don't know everything. You got to have someone that you confide in. I would most definitely a banker. I have a banker from my earlier years that I would call and ask questions. I had my quality manager from my automotive industry that we stayed really, really good friends, really, really good brothers. I went to several different symposiums, several different conferences, and just met people that was already in the business. They may not was doing water bottling business or beverages business, but I found myself going to conferences so I can iron sharpen iron, so that a friend of a man sharpen each other. So I wanted to get with people that was doing what I was doing successful. My pastor, those type people those are the people that you need in order to keep an even keel and keep you well rooted. And also, if you have a spouse, a wife, a husband, a girlfriend, boyfriend, you know, they need to be behind you. I have a great wife that she stood beside me and she's like, hey, I'm here to support you whenever you need to. So not just a mentor, but a support system. You got to have a support system in doing this because it's very, very difficult to go down this road by yourself and encounter all these pits and hurdles and downfalls doing it by yourself.
And Marquise, in just some ways that our audience can maybe find out more about 1186 and how they can get their hands on this real artesian water.
That's great question right there. So 1186 Real Artesian Water is growing exponentially. You can visit our website. That is 1186 spelled out 11 ELEVEN, the number 86water.com. We're also on all the platforms, social media platform, 1186water. You can go and check us out on all them different platforms. If you want to know where we're located, you can go to our website. We have a product located at the very top. It'll tell you can click on that and put your address in. It'll tell you exactly what 1186 is located across the United States. If there's not a area near you yet, which is coming, 1186 is growing exponentially, so it's coming. But let's say you want it now. You want it today. You in New York. You in Connecticut, or you somewhere up north where the water's not located. We have online process where we ship the water to all 48 lower states. We ship the water everywhere. We ship it to California. We have customers in California, Washington, Seattle, Washington, Philadelphia, New York, Columbus, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio, Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, Chicago, everywhere where they go online, order line. You go to the very top of the screen, it says order online. They place an order and the water gets shipped to you directly to your door by UPS.
And going to my last question is, well, if someone is in their first year of business, what advice would you give them?
Hold on very tight. You're going to go down into what we call the pit of investment. Hold on. I'm talking about you have to understand. Me personally, I tell people this: when you become an entrepreneur and you go into business, don't quit your day job. You can do both. A lot of people, once they become an entrepreneur, once they go into business, they quit their day job. They quit their corporate job. I believe in keeping a corporate job because the less stress that I put on the business, the more likely it will succeed. So if I go into business for myself, let's say I got this podcast going, I'm doing it full time, and I go into it full time and I say, okay, I'm going to quit my automotive job. I'm going to quit my automotive engineering job. Well, I just put 300 tons of pressure on the podcast to pay my bills at home. And so I'm going to be out there doing anything and everything I can do to try to bring in revenue because I got to pay my home bills. But what about if I'm going into business in my first year? How about if I keep that corporate American job, work an off shift or work my new entrepreneurship after I get off work so that I don't put my home stress, my life on the business, and I can let it just grow organically. A lot of people that I talk to, a lot of entrepreneurs I talk to, time they become an entrepreneur, time they get that LLC, time they start, they quit their day job. Mm-hmm. They quit that day job and they like, oh, I got $5,000 for bill. I got to make $5,000 this month.
Right.
Well, you out there doing every and anything, and now you dilute your platform because you got to do every and anything because you got to bring food and put on the table. Mm-hmm. But if it was my first year of business, I would continue working my 9 to 5. Preferably, I work 11 to 7. I work 11 to 7 shift, work my 11 to 7 shift job so I can pay my bills and take care of my family and put food on the table. And then at 8 o'clock in the morning, I would start up my entrepreneurship and I would invest into it until it goes from an infinite to crawling to walking to an adolescent to adult. And then once it become adult, that entrepreneurship going to say, hey, buddy, you sacrificed long enough. Quit that 9 to 5. Come on over here full time now. Mm-hmm. That's my advice for a first year entrepreneur that's going into business.
I definitely agree. That's the first time someone has said that, and I wholeheartedly agree with that advice. Yes. And so my last question is, what does it mean to you to be Black in business?
That is, you don't have enough time for that. What it means to be Black and in business, it has disadvantages and it has advantages. From a manufacturing standpoint, sometimes, and this is not a myth. This is a fact. Sometimes being Black, especially being a Black owner, you don't get the respect from your team members, from retailers, from other people because they're not used to seeing you in that position. Mm-hmm. They're not seeing you as an owner. They see you as a worker. So they don't give you the respect that you deserve. They don't give you the respect that you need. So you have to overcome the lack of respect. You go and deliver water. You go out and do promotions. I can't tell you how many times we went out and did promotion and give away water, and people said, "No, you keep that. You keep that. You keep that." Racism is still there, but you got to know how to work around it. So you got to be innovative and working around things. Maybe I don't need to do the promotions. Maybe people don't need to know. I can't tell you how many times people say, "Are you the owner?" I said, "No, I'm just a worker." They said, "Oh, okay, we'll take a bottle." Okay. Oh, wait. Ultimately, that's what I got to do. I'm good with that. I have went into a store one day and people say, "Hey, your boss came through here." I was like, "Great. You like working at that company?" I love working at that company. It's a great company to work at. It's the best company I ever worked in my life. "Well, y'all do a great job. Thank you, ma'am." Go get in my car and leave. So you get a very high level of disrespect. The advantage is you get to showcase to your fellow man that you're not inferior. Give me an opportunity and I will hit a home run. I don't need but one. Just throw me one pitch. I don't need a full account. Throw me one pitch. Throw me one pitch. I do believe that a lot of times as African American, when we get up to the plate to hit the ball, to bat, the count is already full. It's already 3 balls and 2 strikes. And something finna happen. You're going to either swing or you're going to get, something's going to happen, or you're going to get hit with the ball. So that's something I thrive on. I thrive on that. No one has never given us anything. I don't expect it. And so that means that everything that we have, we work for it, honestly, and it's ours, and no one can take it. No favor, because we work for it.
That is powerful. Woo. I can feel it. I know what you mean. Totally know what you mean. And Marquis, this has been amazing and powerful. I know people are going to want to know how can they continue to stay connected with you. So if you could just share your social media and other ways that people can connect.
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to tell you thank you for everything you have allowed us to give this opportunity to share our platform. As I said before, please visit us, 1186water.com. That is our email address. Spell out 11, ELEVEN, the number 86water.com. We also 1186water on all social media platforms. And not only that, come and check us out. Come to Alabama. Come to Alabama, go online, set up a tour. We'll show you something that you ain't never seen before. You can come and tour the facility. Had to be five or more people at a time, but we would love for people to come and tour the facility. We do tours all the time. We have schools coming in to do tours. We vertically integrated the facility. We do a lot of our own product in-house. We produce a lot of our raw material, and we showcase God a lot. Showcase God so much that under the caps, we have 222 different Bible verses that we share our ministry with our customers, and let them know that, hey, listen, this ain't no fortune cookie. This is something to get you through life, because God is real. God is there. Look what he did for us. He can do it for you too.
Well, all right. Another phenomenal episode, and shout out to Marquis and his journey of just transparency and talking about how he built truly from the ground up. Like, can you believe that he got turned down by 18 banks and over 30 investors who told him that he wouldn't be able to compete? But instead of giving up, he took matters into his own hands and started building his brand because no one else would give him the opportunity. Talk about determination. And Marquis also definitely gave us a word today, and y'all already know I am the amen corner over here, because as someone who grew up in the church, this conversation was right up my alley. I could not contain myself. I loved every moment of it. And I also love the fact that this whole conversation was about how being and thriving in a small town and really building a water brand from the ground up, which is also hard to do in general coming from a small town, but then also going into an industry where there is not many of us. And so I love the fact that he also touched on the harsh reality of being a small town business owner in the South, which is a whole nother story. And I definitely can relate to everything he was saying. So I am just so grateful to him for continuing to build and lead the way. And if you want to learn more about Marquis, please be sure to head over to blacktobusiness.com/221. And I want to thank you for tuning into the Black to Business podcast and just being a part of the Black to Business family. We would love to know what you thought about this episode, and you can always tag us on Instagram at Black to Business. And I even encourage you to share this episode with a friend. So in the meantime, I will see you back here next week, same time, same place. Later.